Good evening. I'm Dan Schrack. We begin with the celebration returning to the city of Rochester, the Puerto Rican Festival. The organized event is over, but the party continues in Rochester's north side. That's where we find 13 Wham's Sam Carter. And Sam, organizers are hoping things remain calm tonight. How is it looking so far?
It's calmed down quite a bit from what it was even a half an hour ago here on Upper Falls Boulevard and North Clinton Avenue, because the annual event, that is the Puerto Rican Festival, has given way to the unofficial event, that is the after party. But organizers of the Puerto Rican Festival hope tonight's festivities don't give the festival a black eye. Today marked the 51st time the Puerto Rican Festival was celebrated in Rochester. Festival President Orlando Ortiz says today's festivities are all about togetherness.
Over the many years, a lot of other Latino communities have migrated to the Rochester area, Dominicans, Cubans, Panamanians, and others. So although it is the Puerto Rican Festival, we try to integrate other cultures within our festival.
Although last year's event was canceled due to the pandemic, in 2018, 20 people were arrested, and in 2019, 25 people were arrested after the festival. Some at today's festivities say they're aware of what goes on afterward.
Bring negativity to the neighborhood.
In what way?
The craziness that happens after the fact, which doesn't give a good name to this.
Some say the trick to avoiding what sometimes does happen is all about knowing when to go home.
That's why I leave at a specific time. So it's like a certain time that you leave, where it's safe.
Though they have nothing to do with what can happen afterwards, organizers say the venue change can hopefully curb the shenanigans.
Hopefully us having the festival at the Avenue presents an opportunity for them to showcase their culture right in their community and not have to do those activities at the end.
Now, I think it's important to note here that trouble is not unique to the Puerto Rican Festival, at least after it. It's not unique to that. I mean, if we look at 2018, there were more arrests associated with the St. Patrick's Day parade than there were with that year's Puerto Rican Festival.
A third round of COVID vaccinations could be rolled out as soon as tomorrow. The CDC approving that additional dose in a special meeting today. But as Dan Schrack reports, it's only for those who are most at risk of getting COVID-19.
More protection against COVID-19 is on the way.
11 yeses, 0 no's, and the ayes have it, and the recommendation is adopted.
The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices voting to approve a third dose of a COVID vaccine for some Americans.
For folks who are immunocompromised, getting a vaccination, it's less likely to build immunity because their immune system is not working at 100%.
The vote amends Pfizer and Moderna's emergency use authorization for those with medical conditions or those receiving treatment associated with moderate or severe immune compromise, like organ transplant recipients, not for those with pre-existing conditions such as diabetes or heart disease. With COVID cases rising, Melissa Shortino, who is actively battling metastatic thyroid cancer, says she wants to get a third dose as soon as possible.
I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to have a fighting chance in defeating COVID with the body I currently have.
The third shot is also recommended at least 28 days after a full vaccination series.
As clinicians and health systems, what we will do from here is turn to our electronic health records and try to poll the patients who meet this requirement and communicate with them directly.
Now, those who received Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine are not eligible. The CDC says no proof, prescription, or recommendation from a doctor is required.
Rochester Catholic Diocese is being accused of dragging its heels and deliberately stalling bankruptcy negotiations with sex abuse survivors. They were able to sue the diocese as part of the Child Victims Act, opening a 2-year window of people to sue no matter when the abuse happened. Well, that window closes at midnight, and as Jenny Ryan reports, justice for many may be a long way off.
Yeah, that's right, Doug. Those survivors want financial compensation from the diocese for what they say was abuse at the hands of clergy and years of ignoring it. So close to what they thought was justice. Some survivors say they feel the church again is trying to disregard them.
I was a very innocent kid.
Carol Dupre publicly disclosed the secret she'd long been carrying in 2018. She said she was sexually abused by her parish priest as a naive, trusting 15-year-old girl.
And I didn't know what to do.
Carol has found her way since that day, emerging as one of the most visible faces of local survivors, one of hundreds who are suing the Rochester Catholic Diocese as part of the Child Victims Act, or CVA. The number's so great, the diocese filed for bankruptcy, the first in the state. But 2 years later, there is very little progress toward a settlement with survivors.
How do you think the diocese has handled itself through this process?
They've stalled, installed.
Carol is 74. She represents survivors in the bankruptcy process. The judge overseeing it has ordered the two sides back to negotiations, but those close to it say a settlement between the Rochester Diocese and survivors is likely years away.
The Diocese of Rochester is using the playbook of every diocese and archdiocese and religious order in the world: delay, circumvent, block, and delay some more.
In contrast to the Rochester Diocese, the Boy Scouts of America, also facing hundreds of lawsuits as part of the CVA, reached an $850 million settlement with survivors in 17 months. Discouraged, Carol Dupre remains determined.
Yeah, we're tired, but you know what? We're not quitting.
In a statement today, the diocese told me, "We are cooperating fully out of respect for the Chapter 11 process and the claimants. We decline further comment." Negotiations between the diocese and its creditors are scheduled to resume at the end of the month. But Doug, we should not expect a resolution anytime in the near future.